believes it's absolutely necessary that the United Nations reform so that it can meet present-day challenges. Without adapting, the UN is bound to lose its global legitimacy. The rise of the G20 has acted as a wake-up call in this respect. For years, this body led something of a dormant existence as a forum of finance ministers. But look at what it now become. Thanks to the financial crisis, the authority of the G20 is now many times greater. Today, this is where new policy is formulated, where new plans are forged. And of course, an important reason for this is the advantages that the G20 has over other similar bodies. Its members are more regionally diverse than the members of the G8. And that makes that the G20 is not only more inclusive, but also more legitimate. Yet, at the same time, it's small enough to make bold moves. It doesn't get bogged down in the endless reading of declarations you so often see in the United Nations. And I think that G20 could become a great example of a new form of international cooperation. A new partnership that acts as a gateway to the United Nations. In order to understand what kind of reform is necessary, it's useful to make a distinction between the UN's three functions. First of all, the United Nations is the world's moral authority. This is the place where the standard setting takes place, resulting in treaties, conventions and resolutions. And the Secretary General is the personification of the UN's moral authority. He is there to guide the Charter's principles. Secondly, the UN is a platform, a place where countries can meet to discuss a broad range of issues and where they can combine their efforts, as the Charter says. Much like this meeting today, the UN has a convening power. And last but not least, the UN is a supplier of goods and services. Through its various agencies, the UN engages in development, education, health, sanitation, empowerment, emergency relief, biodiversity, environmental protection, you name it. Its peacekeeping missions are one of the most tangible deliverables of the organization. The peacekeeping budget is 3 times as high as the UN's regular budget. So reforms, I believe, should focus on the last 2 functions. The UN as a convening power and the UN as a supplier of goods and services. The foundations of the House are still strong, but the seats at the table need to be rearranged, allowing for better representation, and the floor plan must be upgraded, which will allow for a more efficient use of space. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what is happening in New York at the moment. UN headquarters at the East River are being renovated. The building did not meet present day's demand any longer. It's now under reconstruction, and within the next 5 years, we expect to see a refurbished, shiny new UN. And our thinking of reform should keep track with the physical renovation. And that means that within the next 5 years, the international community will have to come together on important issues such as Security Council reform. It's been debated for a long time without making any progress. Now it's time to move on. If we cannot agree on an immediate major overhaul, we must decide on incremental steps. A temporary arrangement, increasing the permanent membership step by step, allowing regions that are now underrepresented a greater say. And such a temporary arrangement can be reviewed after a certain amount of time, allowing for further refinements. But if we do nothing, if we sit still, we can be certain that eventually the foundation of our international structure will be affected and the building will collapse. Without legitimacy, the moral authority of the UN will be at risk. And this is, and I am convinced that you agree with me, this is not a desirable situation. And therefore, we must act. Ladies and gentlemen, dear delegates, you are here to act. Like Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General, once said, more than ever before in human history, we share a common destiny. We can master it only if we face it together. And that, my friends, is why we have the United Nations. You are here to prove him right. And I wish you good luck in the Model United Nations. And remember, it's not about the best team winning, it's about the world as a whole winning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Verhagen. Those were some very interesting.